They sent a team of agents to Gallatin. They got on the scene and began their investigation. They thoroughly investigated this case. They conducted interviews, of course. They reviewed police records, reports. They reviewed audio recordings. They reviewed body camera videos and police car dash cam cameras. Gallatin has body cameras for each one of their officers, and of course their police cars are equipped with dash cams, and those proved to be very effective and very useful during the course of this investigation. The TBI has presented their evidence to me and their findings to me of this investigation. They have thoroughly discussed with me what has happened. We have had meetings about this case, and today I'm here to tell you the results of those meetings and the information, the investigation that the TBI has done. Facts are that Deputy Gary Pickard, age 66, full-time deputy sheriff with the Sumner County Sheriff's Department, was out at Chafin Court and addressing Chafin Court here in Gallatin with 4 representatives of the Gallatin Housing Authority. They were there because an eviction notice had been given and served properly, legally, to LaRonda Sweat at her address there at Chafin Court. That had been done earlier in the week. And on this date, which, as I've said, was Wednesday, he was there to back up these representatives of the Gallatin Housing Authority in effectuating the eviction. Before anything really could be done, this was approximately right at 9 o'clock. That's when the eviction notice said that they were going to be coming to effectuate the eviction at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, April the 6th. Before anything really could be done, and even before Deputy Pickard could get on the property of LaRonda Sweat, she encountered him with 2 weapons in her hand. She had a medieval-style battle axe with 2 big blades, a blade on each side of the handle that she was brandishing, and she had a sword in her other hand. She immediately confronted Deputy Pickard. He told her to drop her weapons. She did place the sword in the ground, but she maintained possession of that battle axe. And before he knew it, she had taken that battle axe and had sliced him with the axe. He immediately backed up, retreated as quickly as he could. He then called for backup, and Gallatin Police Department responded. There were 3 Gallatin officers that responded to the scene. They actually got there on the scene in about 4 minutes from the time that the call was placed for assistance. The first officer on the scene was James Spray. Officer Spray got out of his car, and immediately out of the corner of his eye he could see coming around the car LaRonda Sweat. LaRonda Sweat confronted him. She approached him. She still had the battle axe in her hand. She was brandishing that battle axe. She was rapidly walking toward Officer Spray. She was told several times to drop it, get on the ground, drop it by Officer Spray, but she ignored that. As a matter of fact, she was picking up speed coming into the near presence of Officer Spray, threatening him with that battle axe. Officer Spray knew that we already had 1 officer on the scene, Deputy Pickard, that had been cut with this battle axe. He had about 8 seconds to make a decision as to what to do. She picked up speed. She came very, very close to Officer Spray to where she could have struck him with the battle axe, and Officer Spray had his gun out, and he shot her in the upper torso, and he shot again. He fired his service revolver, service pistol, 2 times. Well, the first shot proved to be fatal. However, on the scene, the 2 officers that followed Officer Spray to the scene, they were there very, very quickly. In fact, the entire thing was going down when the second officer showed up. Third officer showed up immediately after that. Those 2 officers performed CPR for LaRonda Sweat, trying to preserve her life. They worked very hard trying to keep her alive and to preserve her life until EMS could arrive. They continued to perform CPR until EMS arrived and took her to the hospital. LaRonda Sweat was unfortunately pronounced dead at the hospital later on. After considering all the evidence, especially the videos, the audio recordings, I have concluded, after talking to the TBI, the investigating officers, thoroughly going over this case, that this shooting was totally justified. There will be no prosecution. There will be no further investigation necessary in the course of this particular matter. As sad as it is, and as much as we regret it, as terrible it is that a person has lost her life, Officer Spray had no choice but to do what he did. He knew at the time when he got on the scene that she had already cut 1 officer. He saw her brandishing this battle axe. He saw her closing in on him as he was backing up. He didn't just stand there and hold his ground. He was backing up because he was taught and trained to try to put distance between the assailant and himself. He went back as far as he could. As a matter of fact, the video would show that as he was firing his weapon, and immediately thereafter, he even backed into the patrol car. He had nowhere else to go at that point because LaRonda Sweat came on to him so quickly. She ignored his orders to stop. She ignored his orders to get on the ground. He did what he was trained to do. I would like to bring this investigation, this matter, to an end. I think it's necessary to do that, and that's why we're here today. I want to remove any cloud of suspicion, any cloud of doubt from Officer Spray, from the Gallatin Police Department in this matter. Officer Spray hates what had happened, but he knows that he did his job. We all hate the fact that LaRonda Sweat has lost her life. She has loved ones, she has friends, she has supporters. This was something that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. But through this TBI investigation, which has been done very professionally and very promptly and properly, impartially, it's clear that Officer Spray did the right thing. That's why I'm making this announcement today. In this environment that we have today, there too often our officers are held up to suspicion in regardless of whatever they do. And that's a sad commentary. Sometimes it's been clear that officers were in the wrong, have done the wrong thing. And when they are in the wrong, it needs to be addressed. It needs to be handled. However, when an officer does his job or her job and has done what they are trained to do and have not done anything other than the proper thing, I think that needs to be recognized too. And that's why we're having this meeting here today. The TBI is totally impartial. That's why they were called in when this officer involved shooting. They have told me everything that they know about the case. There are a few loose ends, but they won't make any difference at all in this determination. The TBI has told me that they couldn't imagine anything that could happen that would change their minds and change the facts, because the video, the interviews, the audio all show exactly what happened. So I'm saying that the shooting was justified, it was tragic, but we may as well face up to the reality that this happens sometimes in the environment that we live in. Chief Bandy may want to step up and say something. Chief?
Again, I want to say that we're pleased with the decision by General Whitley, but mind you, at the end of the day, you still have a family that's lost a loved one. You've got a police officer that has taken a life in his line of duty. So I ask that you'll continue to raise them up in your prayers and thoughts. Again, it's a very tragic and unfortunate incident. We're glad to move forward. We hope to continue to keep doing what we're doing with this community. That's what we strive to do, and that's who we work for, and that's who we serve. You know, and deep down in our heart, that's what we want to do, is to be there for the community and protect them and serve them.
Do you expect any backlash from this? The family said that the tape was edited, that it didn't show it all. If you could see the whole tape, that the outcome may have been different.
Well, I invited the family to come up and watch it before it was released, and to address that, we did clip the tape, but it was not to show the CPR in progress and some terrible things that happened in those situations, you know, and you can imagine body functions and things like that. So we were going to show that to the family, and I felt it was important that we tell the family we were going to release this tape. But immediately I felt like we needed to get that tape out there, and as soon as we can get to that point, I know that there'll be records requests and what have you, and we'll make sure that, you know, there's nothing to hide. We never viewed the tape the day of. We turned it straight over to TBI. I never saw what happened. It was strictly, you know, the chain of custody went right to them. So we have nothing to hide. That's why we have those body cameras, and that's why we have in-car cameras. Again, it's to help us serve the community, and you know, and again, that's unfortunately, and I know the family's upset about it. I'm not sure. You know, hopefully we've worked real hard with this community to try to build that bridge and build that partnership, and this just didn't happen yesterday. We've been talking with our community members for a very long time. This is my 5th year as chief, and we've strived to do that. And you know, again, I've said from day one, we can't do it without the community.
Chief, will the officer go back on duty now?
He's still on administrative leave, obviously, but we're going to, in the very near future, address that. Again, I'm going to sit down with Officer Spray, and we're going to, you know, see what he needs to make this transition good, but he will be going back to work.
What about your internal investigation? What's an update on that?
Again, it's parallel to the TBI, obviously, and with today's events happening, we're in the middle of doing our diligence as far as interviews and things like that. So hopefully here in the near future, and again, there's a lot of evidence that we backed out of TBI's way. Again, it was our crime scene, and General Whitley made that call very early on, and we welcome that. So you know, there's things that we've got to look at ourselves that we haven't even seen. So
early on, before the video was released, some of the members of the community had said, why couldn't they have tased or used pepper spray? Can you speak to those concerns, having seen the tape now?
well, and again, I think it was 8 seconds it took, and she was, Miss Sweat, unfortunately, was confronting Officer Spray. There was no, you know, we trained for distance and de-escalation and trying to slow down the situations, but she dictated to me Officer Spray's response. Miss Sweat did.